In American folklore, few places evoke as much terror and fascination as 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York. The story we're about to explore isn't just about a haunted house. It's about an ordinary family that stumbled into an extraordinary nightmare. December 18th, 1975. The air was bitter cold when George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 children, arrived at what they believed would be their dream home. The colonial-style house, with its distinctive quarter-moon windows resembling watchful eyes, stood proudly against the winter sky. At $80,000, it was a steal, especially for Long Island real estate. But there was a reason for the bargain price. Just 13 months earlier, this same house had witnessed unspeakable horror. Ronald DeFeo Jr. had murdered his entire family within these walls, claiming demonic voices had driven him to commit the acts. The Lutzes knew this history, but like many rational people, dismissed it as tragic but irrelevant to their future. From the moment they crossed the threshold, subtle signs suggested something was amiss. Their black Labrador, Harry, typically playful and adventurous, refused to enter the house. He stood at the doorway, hackles raised, emitting low growls that seemed to warn of invisible dangers. The first few days seemed normal enough. The family unpacked, arranged furniture, and began settling into their new life. But as darkness fell each evening, strange occurrences began to multiply. George Lutz, a man with no history of paranormal beliefs, found himself waking precisely at 3:15 a.m. every morning, the estimated time of the DeFeo murders. He would feel drawn to the boathouse, where he'd stand in the cold, staring at the house, fighting an inexplicable sense of dread. Kathy reported waking to the sensation of being embraced by an unseen presence. She'd feel the mattress depressed beside her, as if someone, or something, was lying there. The children started speaking of a mysterious friend named Jody, who they claimed could transform from a friendly pig into a terrifying creature with glowing red eyes. The house seemed to have a life of its own. Doors would slam shut without warning. Windows would unexpectedly fly open. Black, sticky substances oozed from keyholes. A retired priest, called to bless the house, reported hearing a deep voice command him to get out while he was alone in a room.
Get out. Get out.
Then came the physical manifestations. George discovered a hidden room in the basement, not shown in any house plans, that the family dubbed the Red Room. Its walls were painted a deep crimson, and it emanated a cold that no heating system could touch. The family dog would bark frantically at this room until his voice gave out. Kathy began finding unexplainable bruises on her body. George's personality started to change. He became increasingly agitated, barely sleeping, and obsessively stoking the fireplace at all hours. The children began sleeping face down, mimicking the positions in which the DeFeo victims were found. By mid-January, just 28 days after moving in, the phenomena reached a crescendo.
We were lucky to get out alive.
Mrs. Johnson, did you ever witness anything unusual at the Lutz house?
The
Well, I
aftermath
always
of the
heard strange
Amityville
noises at
haunting
night, things
sparked
slamming and
endless
such.
debate.
We found some temperature anomalies and residue we can't identify.
Skeptics pointed out inconsistencies in the Lutz's story, while believers cited collaborative evidence from neighbors and investigators. The house became a media sensation, spawning books, movies, and countless investigations. Today, the house still stands at 112 Ocean Avenue, though the address has been changed to protect the current residents' privacy. The distinctive quarter-moon windows have been replaced, and the house has been renovated multiple times. Yet it remains one of America's most infamous addresses, a symbol of the thin line between the rational world we know and the unexplainable shadows that sometimes creep into our reality. Whether you believe the Lutz's account or dismiss it as an elaborate hoax, one thing remains certain. Their story has become an indelible part of American supernatural lore, a cautionary tale about the unknown forces that might lurk behind familiar walls, waiting for the next unsuspecting family to turn the key in the lock. The Amityville Horror, as it came to be known, reminds us that sometimes the most terrifying stories are not those of obvious monsters or violent spirits, but of ordinary families whose American dream transformed into an unimaginable nightmare.